How's my microphone now? There we go. For some reason the microphone wasn't very happy. Hello everyone. It's good to be back to the drawing. Not quite sure what I'll do tonight, but as usual we will start drawing and see. Last time I was working on facial expressions, and I think I'm going to review some of those and try replicating those with the character designs I was doing before, and try just doing some more expressive character designs, if you will, for some of my existing characters. And it's fun to be able to say I have existing characters, isn't it? So let me get my camera back in a line now. We'll do some line reps to start with, as always. Have I sharpened my... It seems fine. So just do some... Gosh, it's been so long. There we go. Just getting a little bit of practice here with the pencil. And soon enough, we'll be drawing again. Would love to get to the point where I'm doing some comics consistently. Some stories, some art, some characters. Maybe some actual monsters and comics, who knows. Just feeling pretty good. My circles are reasonably circular. Whoops, that one, getting more blobby. I always have a problem on that last bit of the curve. This right here always gives me a problem. Hey, Tandem. Good to see ya. Just loosening up tonight. And then we'll get into some art and some actual stuff. And try to improve tonight. Always a good thing. Do some slaloming lines here just to practice keeping the lines where I want them to go on the paper. Practicing that concentration. Make sure I am doing a reasonable job there. Let's add a block here, so we have to kind of do this. There we go. Whoa! There we are. That feels good. So I gotta ask, why do you have a nickname different than the name you want to be known as? It's so confusing. It's so many things to remember and keep track of. I think it would just, it would just be too much trouble. All right. So there the line. Whoa. There we are. Camera's been having some focus issues tonight, but I think it's figuring itself out. All right. So let's remind ourselves of what our characters look like and how we do the eyes. That's right. So I'm gonna real quick just do some Alice practice. Ah, gotcha. Can't you rename yourself? Can't you do a rename on YouTube? All right. So we know we have our. We'll do a quick sort of thing here and some hair, just gonna get that going. And so her eyes look kind of like this. So we have a curve underneath here, and then a curve here, And then nice big pupils. Something like this. With our little thing. And we'll do some simple eyebrows. And her hair will come down like this. She's a little worried, as you can see. So we'll do a. There we go. She's a little concerned there, definitely. Uh-oh, something's going wrong with Alice, but she's a little too jowly for me. So before I go any further, let's just give her a slightly more pointed face. Remember, yeah, that's about how I drew her before. I probably want to go a little more curved. That's not bad. Yeah, she's looking a little, maybe a little too much, a little gaunt there. And we'll try broadening that a bit. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so there's my normal thing there. So let's try a version of Alice. Again, we'll just do a simple head shape. Should probably be a little bit more curved, but that's all right. We'll do the like that. Her eyes. We want this sort of narrowed expression. So let's try bringing the eyebrows down. Ooh. That's interesting, isn't it? There's some intensity. Wow. Okay. I'm liking this. Got a shonen vibe now. Wow. Do I give her them noses? Not consistently. That's fine. It is SD after all. So we'll give her. How does her hair look? Very simple. Yeah, I feel like she should be. She should have a glowing nimbus or something. What age group do you think you attract the most? That's an excellent question. I do not know. I could probably tell you. Let me just see. I have Google Analytics right here. Whoops. 1 second. Dang it. Didn't want to do that. There we go. Let's just pull up and see what they tell me. They have geography, they have gender. Do they have age? They've got to have age on here, right? Somewhere? Videos, playlists, groups. Browse all groups. Let's see if we can get a... Nope, no groups. I guess it's a defined thing. Okay. How do I get out of that? Apparently I can't. Alright, let's try that again. Comparison? No. YouTube products. Language. Huh. Google must have some way of telling me the general age of the folks on here. Let's see here. Revenue reports. Demographics. There we go. So according to this, the vast majority are 25 to 34-year-old males. late 20s, early 30s. And then after that, it's 18 to 24-year-old males. And then some 35 to 44-year-old women. And then everything beyond that is kind of, is so small as to not matter. 14, cool. Well, you are an outlier, and cheers to you for being that. I've always been an outlier myself, and I always enjoy seeing outliers around. Okay, that's cool. That's an expression I'm going to capture. So this is extra 5. That's a 5. Oh, she needs a few other things. No, she doesn't get ears. Okay, no, that's it. So let me. I'm not sure how curved I want that to be, but I like that. And we'll give her the full eyes. But I have a strong. Yeah, I think we'll do a strong, thick line for the hair. We'll do the line down here for her jaw. Try to do that as calmly and evenly as possible. Not a great thing to do with this ridge here to play around with, to be honest. But what can you do? Oh, thank you! Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the This Week in Geek Archaeology video. Gotta be careful here. Don't want to blur the line. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with those. I figure if you're going to do a here's what's coming up video, why not be fun with it? Because they're a little silly to begin with. The idea that folks are going to tune in to find out what's happening on the channel. But, so, you know, you have some fun with it. Ah! So that's actually a good question. Otaku is a word that's changed in meaning over time. Originally it meant kind of loser in Japan. It meant somebody who was this obsessed nerd, somebody obsessed with anime and manga and video games and such, and had no life. Well, actually, that's not quite true itself. Otaku started using that word to describe themselves because it was this archaic version of the word you or me to address somebody. It's kind of like saying thou, you know, or thine. You know, this is thine house. This is mine apartment. So they use this archaic word to refer to themselves just as for fun. And then that word then became the general public's word for otaku, and it took on this very negative meaning. But then when anime came over to the West in a big way in the 90s, then that really changed. Over here, it did not have negative connotations. It just meant anime fan or manga fan. So as a result, there's always been a certain amount of complexity around the topic because, you know, a Japanese fan would not, for a long time, you know, be very happy with calling themselves an otaku. Like, they would not self-describe themselves as otaku, especially in Japan, because of the negative connotations. But over here, it's much more fine, at least in the U.S., when I say over here. So that's kind of interesting and weird. That just kind of changed how things are. Whoops. I did not draw her neck. She deserves a neck. Then we'll give her her eyes. And we'll go with a thinner pen for that. Make this one a little larger. More rounded. Give her pupils. Darken that up. I think her her eyebrow should be a little thicker too. Is that how I drew her before? Thicker eyebrows? Yeah, thicker eyebrows. Okay. Oh, and you need the mouth too. There we go. Yeah, really emphasize that. I think we'll do the lower lung. Hey, Daniel. Exactly. Otaku no cooking means anime or manga fan cooking. Quite literally. Otaku no meaning, or no meaning of, if you will, sort of a possessive. It's also a reference. There was a an anime OVA, little miniseries made back in the 80s called Otaku no Video. You know, the anime fans video, which was this sort of pseudo mockumentary about the early days of Studio Gainax, a famous anime studio, and the early days of them as otaku and anime fans, and kind of documenting what early anime fandom was like in Japan. And so that thing, Otaku no Video, has become a famous term sort of in anime fandom. So, you know, Otaku no Video, Otaku no Cooking. So that's a pretty darn cool Angry Alice. Cool. Yeah, she definitely needs a glowing, you know, Dragon Ball Z nimbus there. But I'm very happy with that. Oops, she also needs some little eyelashes. So you know she's a girl. Cool. I will ink that in a little bit. Yep, I've tried Ramune several times. It's a very nice drink. I'm a bit of a fan of Ramune. It's very, very nice, very refreshing. What I like about it is that most Ramune's flavors are these sort of light fruit flavors, which are, again, refreshing. It's not this overwhelming like a Mountain Dew or a Coca-Cola. It's something that you can just kind of drink and be happy. And they're also small, so you're not chugging, you know, 32 ounces of soda at once. You do have to figure out how to deal with a marble, though. It is really funky the first, you know, time you do it. It just doesn't make any sense. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, I get it now. But yeah, Ramune is a lot of fun, and partly also because of that, you know, that weird quality to it of being a sort of a puzzle soda, if you will, which is weird. So before the Tezuka style, they did not have the traditional Japanese style. Actually, they had more of a Western style. Tezuka had really more of a Disney style, whereas other artists, and there was a wide variety. You know, they weren't all doing the same thing. But basically, what happened is in the late 1800s, when Japan opened up to the West, a lot of British and American business people came in and started a bunch of businesses in Japan. Among them, like magazines that would have comics in them, particularly like satirical comics. So they would hire Japanese artists, but they would tell them to mimic the sort of comic strips that they were publishing over in America and the West, in Britain and such. So the style was very much was very similar to, you know, basically, you know, Blondie or Beetle Bailey or those kinds of things. Those came along a little later, but you know, there's very well, Crazy Cat would be a great example. Do I have Crazy Cat here? I do not anymore. I don't think. I should. 1 second. This is a good art lesson. There we go. So Crazy Cat ran in the 1920s, probably before that. It was arguably the first widely popular American comic strip. In terms of, you know, newspaper comic strip, you know, that whole thing. And the style is very distinctive, as you can see. It's a very simple style. See if we can get one that's a little more zoomed in. Did some great art here and there, but I can't find one that's really... Yeah, this one isn't too bad. We get an idea of how there are these interesting, hatch work in the backgrounds to really get across these weird landscapes. And Crazy Catch is one of those, hugely popular, hugely influential comics of the time. But if you went back and looked at Japanese comics of the 1920s, they would have looked not unlike this. Obviously influenced by the Japanese, art styles of the past, but closer to this. Kind of melding the two, but closer to this. So that's how, kind of how it goes. Yeah, exactly. You have really Edo period art, and then kind of this. It opened up to the West. Japan opened up to the West, and they basically just mimicked the West for a long time. It wasn't really until Tezuka that distinctive style emerged, a Japanese comic style, more or less. Now, of course, there were people experimenting, people doing interesting stuff with traditional art in comics. I just haven't been able to come across, a lot of. I think there's one of those things where yes, those existed, but nobody really, those never really became hugely popular, right? The people were experimenting, but the experiments failed, for lack of a better term. Thank you. Yes, the dice cup was a gift from some friends. So I can't take credit for finding it, but they did. I think it was a Think Geek thing. Any recommendations about your local bookstore for manga? What kind of genres do you like, Diego? What are your, kind of action, mystery, modern slice of life, that kind of stuff? Comedy, drama, horror. Okay. So we've successfully replicated that drawing of Yo, not replicated, but used as our example. So let's find something else that we're going to, again, not duplicate, but play around with. That's a nice one. I want to shift that around a little bit. One sec. Yeah, that's lovely. One sec. Yeah. Okay, I need to cut that a little bit. Whoops. There. And we will pull that over so we can see it. So let's go with something a little like this. Action, and you want something new. So, so a lot of these are gonna be complicated because some old things are back in vogue. Some are hard to get. It really depends on what's available in your area. I mean, my favorite shonen manga, my favorite action, Dragon Ball, Naruto style manga is Rurouni Kenshin, which is this lovely thing. And it gets re-released periodically, so it's probably at least available somewhere at your local bookstore. And that is just for again, for my mind, the top of the iceberg, the top of the crowd. Otherwise, for action, 14. Let's see here. I have not read a lot of it, but I've heard good things about Fairy Tail, and it is ongoing. It's a a good light adventure, kind of a story, nothing hugely deep. It's more about just friends adventuring together. So again, recommendation there, but I haven't read it, so I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm looking at my manga collection right now to think. That's about all I have that's recent. I mean, if you want to go classic, you might want to go Astro Boy, because it is one of the foundational texts of our our medium, both manga and anime. Beyond that, yeah, I like Queen Emeraldus, which is it's more of a sort of space adventure story. There is action, but it's a little bit more sort of contemplative, and then action stuff happens. So in terms of sort of overall tone, you know, it's folks contemplating things and then leaping to action, so forth and so on. So it's a weird one. A lot of really cool environments and interiors, things like that. And they're releasing this. I think they're in volume up to volume 3, but on this, I think volume 2 on that one. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. What's the scariest thing I like? I'm not really into that kind of thing that I can think of. So like I've read some horror things, but they didn't really appeal to me. Gigige no Gitaro. That would be the one, which I will type into the chat room. Hey, Master Chief. Hopefully that's available in your area. But Gitaro is kind of one of the classic horror manga, shonen horror manga. So it's got action, it has horror. It's very much of... he started drawing it in the early 60s, I believe. And so the style is retro, but it really comes across very, very well. It's atmospheric, and kind of throws all the stuff into there. So I would definitely go for Kitaro if you can find it. Alright, so that was some Alice stuff. We'll do some more Alice expressions. So let's see here. Yeah, so I want to take, again, sort of an Alice head. Simple Alice head here. Seem to always tend to cut off her top of her head. And we're going to give her a big smile. That may not be big enough. Wow, it needs to be even way bigger than that. But her thing is, so her eyes are going to be about here and about here. And we need to curve that up a bit more. So I'm not getting these lines right at all. That's okay. That's part of the experimentation. And I'm actually going to take another break here in a second to check my 3D printer, which just finished its print. My all-time favorite manga is Nausicaa of the Valley of Wind. Hands down. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's good and ridiculously giant. That's cool. It's not very Alice, but that's okay. And we need bigger eyes, I think. Yeah. We'll thicken those up with the with that. Actually, that's just the eyes. That's not the eyebrows. So. And those just get thickened ridiculously. Gotcha. So again, we'll just do. So that feels wrong. Partly her head's bigger than that. So let's stop pretending that she has a tiny head. And let's give her that. And her hair should come down a little further. That helps. What's up with this? We've got to... Something about the expression that just isn't feeling right. Maybe it's the... Yeah, that's interesting. So I'd curved the mouth down quite a bit, and I was just wrong. And that it is curved significantly in the Shaman King example, but it's just not right for this style for whatever reason. Interesting. Yep. No, let's go. Second favorite. Too many. Too many. I will say that Akira is a. I don't like Akira, but it is not meant to be liked. But Akira is an amazing work of art. And if you've only seen the movie, or clips from the movie, that is literally 1/6 of the story of Akira. So it's kind of an impressive achievement. Is Akira, completely separate from whether you enjoy it or not. Beyond that, I mean, Phoenix and actually Buddha, Osamu Tezuka's biography of Siddhartha Buddha, is a massive thing. It's just unbelievable. What do you think about Fortnite? I think it's really cool. One of these days, I will install it and play it on here. Let me pull this out here real quick. Okay, so this is a weird thing. It's weird because this is going to be the weirdest drawing stream ever. Because of this. Hello. How are you all doing? I don't know if you can see, me or what I'm doing over here, but this is a thing I own now. So yeah, this is a new project of mine. So this is obviously Darth Vader mask, and it's going to be turning into actually a part of my Char Aznable cosplay. So I bought it to take this off and spray paint it white and turn it into Char's mask, basically. But I'm going to need to do a few changes to it. I think I'm going to have to cut that off. But I am working on this little crest thing he has. Hello. Yeah, I need to change that around a lot. That's not even nearly right. That's weird. Okay. But that might be the right. I think we're getting there. So basically, I 3D printed a little wedge. It's going to go on here. You can see that. And then this crest thing can go on there and be supported by this, but it's obviously way too small. As you can probably see there. Yeah, so it needs to be like twice as big. But that's a reasonable start. I might just like double it in size and reprint and see what that does. So, okay. I learned. That'll be a project for another day. All right, so that's a fun expression on Alice. I'm glad I played around with that. In fact, what I do need to do, though, here is note that her eyebrows should go up like that. Eyebrows and horizontal. So we don't want we don't want them to go back down like this because it looks sad. And so we give her a nice big giant open mouth. Okay, so that's a good thing to learn. Let's try something else. What was this one? Yeah, that's cool. So I don't want obviously that same exact angle, although maybe I will. Maybe I'll try that. Yeah, I do not play Fortnite, by the way. I downloaded it and installed it, but not gotten a chance to play it yet. I have been really busy. So maybe, yeah, we'll try. Let's do an angle on Alice here. We'll give her eyes. Eyes are obviously a little weird. because they're very different in position. But we can try to mimic that. And we'll lower that a little bit. Lower her eyes a little bit to give her that sense of expression. That sort of lazy lidded look I kind of like for this particular expression. Lower that down a bit. Then give her. That may be a bit too much, but we'll see what happens, and we'll try this. No, not liking it. So first off, we need to give her a nose, and then that tells us a little bit more about the shape of this. So that's what's freaking me out partly, is that we've got a really weird angle on her face. That's not bad, I don't think. Let's go ahead and give her, the rest of her hair. Something like that. Give her neck into a shirt. Yeah, something's wrong. Head's too big. Can fix that. Now head's weirdly lopsided. Head should be more like this, I think. That's a little better. I want the hair to kind of be flopping down like that. Let's give her eyes, because right now that's a little creepy. Yeah, let's have her looking back at us. That's rather nice, actually. Maybe we need to cut the... Yeah. Let's make this less pronounced. That's better. That's looking a little closer. A little weird. Yeah, I am terrible at shooters. I have no skill at shooters. This is still just feeling weird. So first off, let's make these eyes a little more consistent. That head shape, though. All right, let me look back. What am I doing wrong? Whoops. No wonder I can't draw right. I took my hat off. Okay, so yeah, there's a bit of a lump, but it should actually go in a little bit more here. So we want a bit more of a curve in and then a curve out. The neck, should it come back? Is the neck wrong? Yeah, the neck should curve a little more. Let's try maybe that much. Ears are a little too low. Fix that. Better. It's weird. Yeah, she does. Pretty big forehead. At least in this. In the others, the hair comes down almost to the eyes. So that is another thing I am not quite getting in this. That's actually a good point. Let me try. See if that helps. That helps. She's looking a little more normal now. But now she looks more like a shonen character than a little super deformed character. It's weird. It's probably the expression. Let me go ahead and ink and play around with that for a little while. We'll start up here. Gosh, I cannot get a consistent line out of this. Like, both my fingers are just bouncing all over the place. And it's kind of, the pen is a little unhappy. And we'll... Again, down a little bit, and then back around. I think I'll fill that in on the computer. Nice big arc here, I think. I'll go a little more stronger on the arc. I do want to play around with like pens that are a bit more like what they use in manga. So they'll use like actual nibbed pens, stuff that have much finer control. Keep playing around. Good question. What's shonen? What's super deformed? So shonen it's complicated because the term means a lot of things. Shonen is basically action stories, typically involving a team of boys who go out and fight supernatural entities of some kind, or superpowered enemies of some kind. So, Dragon Ball Z, Fairy Tail, Naruto, Bleach. And so it's usually some kind of supernatural action story. Let's get that around so I'm not drawing on myself. And so those tend to have a very light, easy to read, easy to visually parse art style. And that's a little unfair, but it just tends to be true. Cool. Yeah, let's just do Alice here. Whereas Super Deformed tends to have these very squashed characters, these very simplified characters, where the body is like as tall as half of the. I'm sorry, the head is as tall as half the body. Right, so it's sort of, body, and then the torso is as big as the head, and the bottom is as big as the head. There's these very oddball proportions, which tend to look very, very cute. So they're used kind of for parody purposes, and they're used just to do kind of silly versions of characters, just to kind of have fun visually. And sometimes folks will use that to draw special versions of the characters for, end credit sequences and eye catches and promotional art, things along those lines. But it is it's a style. It is a distinct visual style. Her ear, give her the side of her hair, which I want to kind of come down like this. I'm going to redo that like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm actually going to have some of her hair. Well, let's do the side of her face first. Then we want that to curve out a bit more. And then curve back in. Ooh. Dang it. My pen went all over the place there. Kind of like keeping it choked back out. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with that line. Let's just see what happens here when we add in these lines. Whoops. Forgot. Using the lighter lines for the eyes. Oh well. The feeling I'm messing up the proportions of her nose, mouth, and eyes. It's a cool expression, though. I'm not complaining. I don't dislike it. You'll notice a lot of anime they draw, or a lot of manga, they draw the eyebrows through the hair. A lot of that is just for expression. Like, you get a lot more facial expression, a lot more emotion if you can see the eyebrows. Gotcha. So the L versus the R, it depends. There is, it's not that there's no standard, it's that different people use different standards. Like so many things in tech and in life is that, we need a standard here. So let's establish a new standard instead of an actual standard. So sometimes it's R, sometimes it's L. Leiji Matsumoto is a great example of that. The famous manga artist, where he's generally been translated as Leiji, Leiji, but in the early days, some folks translated that or pronounced it as Reiji, which is not incorrect. That is a way of pronouncing it. So the L versus R can go either way. It just depends on what you want to do. And it's also complicated by the fact that sometimes that word is based on an earlier word which has its own translation and meaning. So that, it might make more sense to use R or L because of the word it's based on is translated with an R or an L or whatever like that. So it depends. Hey, Charity. Welcome. Shonen is, it's more realistic than Super Deformed, definitely, but it's not, it's not realistic in the sense that it's about real people doing real things. People are firing spirit guns with their hands and punching people into buildings and things along those lines. So shonen does tend to be over the top and ridiculous, but it's more, it's less ridiculous than Super Deformed. Super Deformed is usually pretty goofy. So let's go ahead and give her full eyes. Hopefully that will make her seem a little less severe. It's a cool kind of action pose for her. It just doesn't feel like Alice. Okay. Oh, and then let's give her a neck and a shirt. Okay. Yeah. Congratulations on selling stuff. Oh, I forgot to draw to ink that in, but we'll go ahead and erase this first. So let's get Angry Alice looking all nice and cleaned up. See how that turns out. Ooh, I like that. That's definitely going on the DeviantArt. As simple as it is, just that's a nice expression. So yeah, one of the things I definitely need to work on is this squiggliness of the lines. My lines are very squiggly. I need to figure out how to do better at that. Cool. All right, so there's Angry Alice. And I know from experience not to try to erase this immediately because inevitably there'll be some wet spot and it'll go all over the place. Furry art, cool. All right, so these are, oops, I forgot to do this one. So that one's been signed. Yeah, so you'll get some really, so the more serious manga tends to be what's called seinen, S-E-I-N-E-N, and that's more aimed at adults. It's generally more about serious adult stuff, whereas shonen stuff is more, fun kiddie things, if you will. Not that it can't be serious, but it's more light adventure in general. but it also gets complicated as to what all that is. All right, so obviously that was a little tough to replicate in SD. Okay, so here's another sort of hero pose. I'm not sure that I want to do that. Whoops. What's this? That's cool. Cool expression. Yeah, let's see how far I can zoom in on this. It's going to get kind of blurry here, but I think we'll be able to tell it. Yeah, let's try for this. Well, 4Kids censors anime because they're trying to air it on broadcast network TV. So, there's a lot of things you can get away with on cable or on HBO that you cannot get away with on broadcast television. And 4Kids' kind of goal was to bring this stuff out, and even the stuff that they did not air on television, that was kind of their initial intention with those shows usually. So that stuff just has to be edited down. Same thing with Robotech. Believe me, Carl Maychek wanted nothing more than to release Macross unedited, but it would not. They would have pulled it from the air. It had to be. And censored is kind of a fraught word, right? But it had to be, those things had to be removed for it to pass the standards of what you can show on broadcast television, right? So yeah, 4Kids is kind of in their corner doing their thing. I have some sympathy for what they do because it's one of those things where it's like, well, do you want the average kid to stumble across anime? Because if 4Kids isn't doing that, nobody, it's not happening, generally speaking. Okay. Charity, I think you should charge $100 each. Just go for it. I'm kidding. I hear you. Pricing art is really difficult. It is, I think, one of the things that is most fraught. But I can tell you, as somebody who frequently buys art, the one thing I value the most is clear pricing. I will pay a little more for something as long as I know exactly what it costs, and I don't feel like I'm getting, confuzzled by what they're doing there. I've commissioned a lot of art, and artists are famously hesitant to price their art. So as long as you have a number, I think that's a good place to start. And you can always, next place you go, charge $5, see what happens. And then try $4 and just play around with those prices. Definitely be willing to do that. I do not like fighting games because I suck at them. I'm terrible at them. I can enjoy a few minutes of Street Fighter 2, probably because I grew up with that game, basically, or in the sense that so that game was actually sitting in my my college's mess hall cafeteria. So there was a Street Fighter 2 cabinet there, and so I played a fair amount of that, although it was kind of expensive. So I have great love for that game, but I'm terrible at it. So that's one of those things where it's like, I probably should not try much, with that. Wow. Some strong expression here. So really what I want to do is pull her hair down even further because she's tilting her head. Excuse me. What's going to happen? Excuse me. There we go. Fighting games absolutely having a comeback. You're right. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll give her a top of a head. Figure out all the exactnesses of that later. And then, yeah, we'll do... No, we'll do that even... So I think that should be like up in here. And up in here. And then we'll do her eyes. And eyes there. And yeah, I think it won't be quite as hidden as Yo's are, but I really like that. Wow, there's some power. Okay, so yeah, it still feels wrong. Yeah, I am familiar with ASMR. I don't get it in the sense that I cannot listen to ASMR and it has no effect on me. But I get that it has effect on other people on other people as well. Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that there are different. We have different standards, and well, the other thing too is that you understand, Macross aired at 2 p.m. in Japan on Sundays, and Evangelion aired at a similar time slot because people had an idea that people in Japan are much more tolerant of sex and violence in animation. They don't feel like that is going to have as strong of an effect on people as, say, sex and violence in a live action story. So there's very little of that in Japanese media, but there can be a lot of that in other stuff. So the eyes are too strong. So let me do this instead and see if that helps. I think that curve of the eyebrow, while cool, just isn't matching the character design. Okay, and then we do the... no, still wrong. So part of it is the head, that it's not obvious that she's tilting down. So the problem here is that normally she's like this. Now she's tilting down. I want to get across this idea that she's tilting down, but... so those should, well, then what that means is that the eye should be lower. So let's try that. We're learning. And these eyebrows may be too big as well. That looks more like her, though. Yeah, that's actually not bad. Oh, that's interesting. So her bangs actually... So she has full bangs. I did not realize that. Okay, that's good to realize. Okay, that's better. And then we'll fix that in post. But just so we have an idea... in fact, let's make that a little more, yeah, cut that down a little bit. Yeah, I like that, actually. We need a slightly different curve on the chin. Yeah, that's not bad. It's weird, like, I like this drawing. It just doesn't really feel like her, maybe because it is so over the top. Interesting. Your title buy you any manga you want. Wow. I'm jealous. I mean, I'll buy myself any manga I want, but I have a job. And I have, and I also, honestly, I don't. I mean, I limit the amount of manga I buy because otherwise I would be drowning in it. But that's cool. Yeah, if you can find Nausicaa, read Nausicaa. Nausicaa does have a lot of cool action in it. I don't think anything else. Yeah, I'm just not as up on the action manga as that is. But one other thing you might want to do, depending on how often your dad's willing to take you to the bookstore, if you want to go look and then come back and ask me about what you see in the bookstore, I'll be happy to give recommendations based on what you see there. See, I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. So I'm going to start with this. I think, yeah, how do I make that more even? That's difficult. Genuinely difficult. There's this natural tendency to kind of drag the pen, which creates this funky line. Very yandere Alice here. I have to murder you. Okay, that goes here, and we will do that. All right, so there's her hair. We will do this down to here. Let's fill in her shirt, which goes out about the side, which actually should go more like that. Body is not that far out. So we will just do this and this, and that's fine. And then similar thing here. Pull that in a little bit. Not that much, frankly. This pen is working a little bit more nicely. All right. Then we'll do our, let me see here. What's going on here? Yeah, our eyebrows are not that big. So let's cut back a bit on the eyebrows. Yeah, that's more Alice-like. It's still kind of still definitely devious, but it's feeling less like a weird yandere who's going to kill you. Yeah, I'll give her those. And then pull down, try to get, yeah, I get really shaky on this pen line. That's annoying to me. Like, it's really noticeable. I'm wondering if that's just, I mean, that's got to be technique of how to hold your pen so it doesn't shake the whole time. Create that weird thing. Alright. She needs a neck. Keep forgetting to give her a neck. That's weird. What's up with me and necks tonight? So yeah, this is not a great line. In fact, I don't want her to have a wart. I'm going to fix that. Alright. Thank you. Thanks, Diego. See you tomorrow for Workshop Wednesday. Painting minis. Notice me, senpai. Come on. Give me my whiteout. There we go. Doesn't want to cover very much. What's up with this whiteout? Yeah. It's kind of messed up. Yeah, it's a little better. Fix that here in a second. Yeah, I don't really roll, well, run and play role playing games conventions, but I don't, you know, I don't actually role play as those characters. I do cosplay, but I don't really role play as the characters while I cosplay myself. But it's cool that you do there, Charity. Yeah, do you have a group? Do you have others you go with? Just yourself? Shouldn't say just yourself. I mean, nothing wrong with one or the other. That's better. We can erase the lines underneath the smiling Alice. And that one too. And like I said, I'll just black that out in like digital software. Oh, I forgot her. Look at that. That is funny. What's up with me tonight? Okay. Scan those in. Or, I'm sorry. Erase those. That's cleaning up real nice. Nicely, excuse me. Yeah, I got this really shaky line. Man. Alright, that's a technique to work on then, is how to make... So maybe from now on with line reps, instead of a pencil, I'll use a pen. And try to get some nice, clean... clean lines. Clean pen lines. And actually, now that I'm looking at this up here, I'm going to thicken that up. I think it's going to look better. Yeah. Looks better with more ink. I like it. I like it like that. Yeah, that's a little cheerier. I am always looking for help with art. Always, always, always. You stream to practice a little. By the way, thanks for coming over from South Korea. I'm honored you're here. I mean that seriously. I'm hoping to go to South Korea this year, actually. Hoping to visit that lovely country. My first time. Really interested in South Korea. Ah! Dang it. Smearing ink all over the place. Okay, well. Yeah. That will have to be cleaned up quite a bit on the computer. Thank goodness for that. Yeah, I hear that about South Korean food. That South Korea has amazing food. All right, I think that's gonna do it for me for tonight. I actually need to get some other stuff done tonight, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to stop at that point. But I think we're making some good. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Let's give her eyebrows. That's what's missing. And some little... I mean, she still doesn't look too much like the character, but at least we're getting closer. That's... yeah. I'm not displeased with that. Cool. Thank you all very much. Charity, hope you'll stop by next time. I'm streaming most days of the week, although I'm only drawing one day a week. I'll probably be changing up the day I do drawing practice, by the way. My D&D group may be switching over to Tuesdays. So this may be happening on Mondays from now on. We will see. But I'll probably be... I think I'll be continuing this for the next week at least. And like I said, more streams other days of the week. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Have a good one. See ya.